To bring up Mr. Kevin, let me see if I get it right, O'Brien.
Yes.
This is Kevin O'Brien. He is the St. Jude Children's Hospital representative. This is his second year being with us. So by Nevin and our standards, he's just a kid yet. I mean, Nevin's been here 19 out of 20 years that we've been doing this. Dad and I have been here for 20 years. And he's just going to take a minute or two, share a few words, tell you a little bit about St. Jude and why we're all here today. You may jump up here if you'd like to. If you have signs, we can get the girls to hold them for you. There you go.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. See, I don't even need that.
Sure?
I'm positive.
Making us look bad, boys.
No, not at all. I can't do what you do, but I can do it louder, for sure. So, again, thank you so much for all of you being here. Thank you, Charlie, for inviting us back and for all the years of support. So I love this picture. Can everybody see that? You want to hold that? Okay, great. Did everybody see the picture?
Yeah.
No? Okay, make sure you hold it up. Okay, so.
Over this way.
There you go. Turn it around. There you go. Excellent. Vanna White. I like that. That's good. So this is a picture of Jason Taylor from the NFL and 5 St. Jude patients. And it makes it really easy for me to understand kind of the landscape of pediatric cancer when I look at this picture, because when St. Jude opened its doors 61 years ago this past month, 20% was the survival rate for pediatric cancer. That means that 4 out of the 5 kids in this picture wouldn't make it. So St. Jude thought that was completely unacceptable. Danny Thomas said that's completely unacceptable. And we started the hospital in 1962. And today, thanks to the work of Charlie and Scott and all of you, 80% is now the current survival rate for pediatric cancer in the United States. Now, I think everybody can agree that's great progress, right? To go from 20% to 80%. However, if you're one of those kids that doesn't make it, right, 20% still don't make it, that's still not good enough. So if you look, the little girl in pink is my daughter, Katie. And Katie, unfortunately, we'll give you a little, you want to hold the picture too? There you go, you can hold that one. So that's little Katie. She was 7 years old when she was a patient at St. Jude. And unfortunately, she did not survive her cancer. But that's not the end of the story, because Katie said, you know what, I love St. Jude. And I know St. Jude wasn't able to cure me, but that's okay, because I'll bet they can cure the next kid. So as we're here tonight, and you have the opportunity to bid on the things that people are going to be showing you, I want you to keep in mind that next kid that Katie talked about. Because what Katie said was, you know what, I'll bet we can get that next family. I'll bet we can take care of that next family. I'll bet we can take care of that next kid. And while we're sitting here tonight, a mom and a dad and a little girl or a little boy walk through the same doors that my wife and Katie walked through years ago. And while we're doing this, they're walking through those doors. And when Katie walked through the doors of St. Jude, a nurse walked up to her and said, "Are you Katie?" And she said, "Yes." And she says, "Well, my name's Crystal. Why don't you come with me?" And they took Katie into a room and they painted her fingernails and they made her feel like a princess. And at the same time, another person took my wife Christine into another room and she said, "Okay, here's the keys to a 2-bedroom apartment. Here's your meal card for this week. We'll give you another one next week." And she explained the shuttle service that take them back and forth between where they were going to be staying and the hospital. And she said, and because of people like you, treatment, travel, housing, food, we're not going to give you a bill for any of that. And I can tell you, it's been 14 years. I've still never received a bill. And the only way we can continue to do that, not only for us as a family, but for those families that are showing up there today, is because people like you support the hospital. And so give yourselves a round of applause. So Scott only gave me a minute or two. I think I might have gone over it. So I'm going to end with this. I'm going to end with, think about that next kid as you go through tonight. If you pray, if you're a faith-filled person, say a prayer for that next kid who's in a really scary situation. They've just in the last couple of weeks heard that they have cancer. Now they're showing up at a hospital in Memphis, or they're showing up at a hospital in Central PA or in Baltimore or wherever else, because everything that St. Jude does gets freely shared with every pediatric facility in the country and around the world. And so what you do tonight benefits not just those kids that are in Memphis, but those kids that are in any treatment facility around the world. And I want you to keep them in your thoughts and your prayers. And let's raise a boatload of money so we can make sure that we can continue to take care of those kids and get from 80% to 100%. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now that you got good warmed up, take a break. Take just a 5-second break. Kevin has to go away, but he told me a story a minute ago back here, and he doesn't need the microphone. He told me a story a minute ago back here, and I want him to share it with you folks. Just one more little story about why we're all here. Go ahead, Kevin.
So I've got my $330 cookies, so I'm good to go. So that was a benefit. I guess I'm not getting my Easter ham, though, because apparently I have to buy a whole pig.
Right.
So I'm not doing that. But I just wanted to, I told Scott this quick story, and I'll just run it through for you. So there was a show on 60 Minutes, had this about 3 or 4 weeks ago. When the war started in Ukraine last year, there were 1,100 kids that were undergoing cancer-directed treatment in Ukraine. And we were able to work with our foundation partners. We have them all over the world. We had one in Ukraine and one in Poland. And we were able to buy an abandoned hotel in Poland and pull those 1,100 kids out of Ukraine so that in addition to their cancer treatment, they didn't have bombs falling on their head. And so we were able to pull them out, got them to Poland, and then we were able to find treatment facilities for them in 18 countries around the world. Fortunately, 10 of those kids were actually able to come to Memphis and be on our campus for the last year. Unfortunately, one of those 10 kids was coming to the end of his life last month. And he said, what I really want before I pass away is to see Dad again. Because his father was fighting in the Ukrainian military, and he hadn't been able to see him in the year since he had left to come to St. Jude. And so we kind of moved heaven and earth, and we talked to a bunch of different people, and we got a care team together, and we were able to put this child and his mom on a journey back to Ukraine. And they got as far as the Netherlands. And the pilot for the next leg of the journey refused to take the kid on board. Because he said, you know what, if something happens to the kid on board and we've got to turn the plane around, then I'm inconveniencing all these other passengers. And so the mom called Mike, who's a friend of mine that works at the hospital and was kind of spearheading this entire process of getting this kid home. And Mike said, well, can you hand the phone to the flight attendant? So she did, and the flight attendant spent about 5 minutes on the phone with Mike and then went and knocked on the cockpit door, and they handed the cell phone to the pilot and got an interpreter on the phone, and Mike was able to spend 10-15 minutes with the pilot, at which point the pilot agreed to take the child the rest of the way on the journey. And when they landed in Poland, there was transport waiting for them there, and they got him over the border into Ukraine, and the father got leave from the military, and that family was able to spend the last 2 weeks of this child's life together as a family, making memories, taking pictures. And those are the kinds of things, that's just one example of one child's journey that you support. And so there's a kid, you know, there's probably thousands of kids that you'll never meet, and yet you continue to do what you do. And Charlie and Scott, I thank you so much for giving this night over every year to St. Jude. And from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the patients and families of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, thank you.